Another type of interaction is when there is a conflict. The conflict has to be there. It is not a bad thing to have a conflict because people would have different point of view to work as an opposition. Because there are two groups and they are having their own opinions, they may have a conflict and therefore they may become opposite to one another, and so it would be called an opposition. There is no harm with it because it is something natural. People can have different points of view, but that should not be displayed as a negative action. Even with conflicts, people can learn a lot. If we are sometimes misunderstanding things and the other group is telling us what is actually the truth, so that means it is a learning process through social interaction. If we would just keep to ourselves and we don't meet anybody and we don't know what are we doing, we are just thinking we are doing everything right and there is nobody to tell us what we are doing, that means we will never be able to progress because we think everything that we are doing is right. So the opposition is actually a helpful tool to improve ourselves. The same goes for the students in the class. If there is a conflict in the opinion that the teacher wants the students to express about, there is no harm that there is a conflict in the class. Even if there is one person having a conflict in the class, the teacher needs to look at it and to address it and to find out what are the expressions of the conflict. It will be also useful not only for the person who is having a conflict, but also for the rest of the people who are listening to the teacher who is addressing the conflict. They will be learning in two ways. Number one, they would be learning about whatever the teacher is informing about. Let's say, for example, the teacher asks the opinion of the students whether the schools should have the annual examination system. So everybody in the class thinks, yes, the schools must have annual examination system. Whereas there are few people in the class who think the annual examination system is no good for them. But this does not mean that if they are standing in opposition, the teacher should neglect them or should not have an atmosphere in the class where the minority is being neglected or the friends who are in majority think that they are always right. Because this way they will never learn in their life that they have to accept somebody's opinion. In order to learn that, everybody needs a training for that. If this habit is inculcated and the children are trained from the very beginning in their lives that somebody can have a different opinion, it will help them all their lives and we can have a better society of listeners. Because the children are not trained for that, when they grow up, they are not ready to listen to anyone else's opinion. They are not ready to take any opposition. They are not ready to accept that there can be a conflict. And the conflict does not have to be in a violent manner. The conflict should not carry a package of violence with it. Rather, the conflict can be there and it can be discussed and everybody can gain information and knowledge and also express their feelings on it. And at least they will learn how to bear somebody who is in the opposition. At least they will learn how to look at the side of the conflict that is coming from the other side. At least they would try to look at the other side of the picture. Even if they don't believe in it, there is no harm in it because they have a certain point of view that is fine for them. But this sort of an interaction should go on. If we don't want to accept conflicts, that means there is no further interaction. There is just a stop to communication because I don't accept it. Therefore, I do not interact.